Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 275 at scavengerlife.com.
We are recording this before we fly off to San Francisco. We're about to fly there in, a handful of hours. So we wanted to get this done, and then Ryan edits it on the plane.
It gives me something to do on the plane.
And then we land, and then she uploads.
Yep.
So that's what we're doing today. Okay, let's talk about eBay. Ryan, I have a question for you.
Yes. You always do.
When do you like to scavenge? During the week, I think about these ideas, it's questions I ask myself, and then I'm like, I wonder if other people, how they do it. Because, these are the questions that come across our minds.
Yeah.
And that is, are there specific times when you like to scavenge?
Now, the thing about me that's very different than you is if I'm on the way to do something, I'm very focused, and I'm like, I do not care if there's a yard sale on the side of the road. I have to go do this thing, and I have to go do it now. So I'm really bad at being spontaneous about it.
We talked about this recently. One answer is being opportunistic, and that is just, and we definitely do this, and I'm good at this.
I'm terrible at it.
When we're going somewhere to work in, having time to just to stop off at either places we know, places we don't know, that random yard sale that pops up.
You're good at thinking of that ahead of time and being like, let's leave an hour early so we have time to do this. But I don't think like that. I'm like, I gotta go do this thing. So it's good that you do that.
Some of the best stuff we've ever found has just been randomly like that,
Yep, absolutely.
But for those who, scavenge for a living, it can't all just be random. We do have specific times where we like to go and scavenge at irregular spots.
Yeah. Like there's certain nights that we know places are open later that we like to go.
Yeah, and I guess I'd love to hear what people say. We like to go to places when we know there won't be a lot of people there.
Right.
And we find like going later in the evening at certain spots is the best.
Yeah.
Because, period. And the reason why I like that is because then I can really scavenge the way I like.
Yeah.
I can really dig into things, tear apart, like boxes, like get to the bottom of things,
right. Which you can do when there are people there, but it seems like it's a little more mellow.
I can do it shamelessly, though. That's a great. I can go through, whole racks of clothes. It's without having to skip over people or feel like I'm bumping into people.
It's less competition for stuff.
Yeah. I know there are some people that say, and it makes sense, they just go to the thrift stores all the time.
Right, all the time. Daily.
Maybe even a couple times a day. I remember when we go stay in, it's New York, it's Manhattan, we go to Housing Works, which is their big kind of like cool thrift stores, and there's
several of them.
Yeah. And and we would just stop in anytime we're in the neighborhood.
Right.
And I would see some of the same people. Like there are people who are just going there because they probably live right down the block 2 or 3 times a day just to see if
what's new. Yeah. Because they put stuff out all the time. Yeah, and you never know. You want to be the first one. We know people that that do that.
Like, it's your mom is a big it's Savers.
Yeah, she's
shopper.
really, because there are a bunch of Savers in Massachusetts. Like there's Savers. There's like 3 of them in the radius of her house. There's one down south. There's one, to the west of her, and there's one. So she just like does the circle. She'll be like, well, I went to see. They had this sale, so I went to this one, and then I drove over to this one in wherever, Framingham or something. So. And
she puts on her it's Bluetooth for her telephone, and then just starts talking to a friend
people.
While she's just spending. How long do you think she'll shop? Like a good 3 hours, right?
My mom will. It's so funny because we've gone to Savers with her, and we're pretty fast. I mean, maybe I'm not finding everything, but I'm like, I look through. I found what I wanted to find within an hour, less than an hour, right? My mom will be there for 2 more hours.
She likes to touch every single item.
I grew up with her like this. Yeah. Grocery shopping with my mom was an event. Like, where I grew up, there was a grocery store, and then there was a clothing store next door to sell. And God,
And what was the name of the grocery store? Stop and Shop?
Shaw's. It was Shaw's. I think Shaw's, people who are from Boston will know. Shaw's. I feel like Shaw's got bought out by some other grocery store, but it was actually a big deal that Shaw's went in there because it was kind of like a fancier grocery store. That, the one that was there before was like really junky, so it was like this nice little like shopping plaza.
So what did your mom do before it's cell phones? Like, it's now I feel like she likes to spend a lot of time in a place because she's just like having a conversation with
She talked to the other people at the store. I swear to God. There would be times where we would be like, oh my God, she's taking so long. Or when we were old enough, when we were like teenagers, she'd just leave us at home. We'd be like, Jesus Christ, my mom has been gone for hours. And there weren't cell phones. So you'd be like calling the store. Is my mom there? Jeez. She's a shopper.
If she ever hears this, I'm sure we're going to get a comment from her.
I know. This story is to tell you, my mom is a very thorough shopper, and you know what, she finds amazing stuff at Savers. And the beautiful thing at Savers, she'll be there for so long that she's like, oh, they started putting new stuff out, so I just like went and got that stuff. Like it's not like she left and came back. It's like she's just there.
It sounds like the people who are like the regulars at those Goodwill outlets, who just like
they hang out.
It's like their job. They show up in the morning,
right.
they leave at night, and they just like wait till new stuff comes out.
Which makes sense. Just, I mean, really, if you're really, really scavenging and you're like, I want the best stuff. I don't want anyone else to have seen it. I mean, that's how you do it. It's very time consuming, you know. So obviously, I'm a very quick picker.
So my question to people, if they're interested in commenting on the blog, is: are there specific times that work well for your area? If you don't have all day to spend somewhere, are there strategic times, like maybe early in the morning? I've tried that, like go right when it opens up. At lunchtime, whatever.
Right, when's the good time for you?
Something else we've been talking about, and this is a dream we've had that we've spoken about many times.
Yes.
I feel like we're in our second or third year of talking about this, and that's the dream of no grind. I think it's a dream of any scavenger, any eBayer, or even Amazon, is that, sometimes eBay can be a grind.
Yes. I felt that way this week, honestly. I did. Because the point is, like we always say, and this is what makes sense to us, is you're feeding a pipeline.
Right.
So you're always wanting, plus look at our house. I mean, there's stuff, my office.
Just look at it.
Just look at it on the podcast. No, I'm just saying, like, stuff is piling up. You're buying stuff. You're finding good stuff. I've got piles of clothes in my office. You're like, you can't just keep this stuff stagnant here. You gotta move this.
Right.
Stuff
I mean,
out.
we're photographing in a listing hundreds of items a week. Right. And we're totally not ungrateful for the freedom to work for ourselves. I mean, it's not about ungratefulness. It's about it's a reality, and it's why many people burn out.
Right.
It's why you always hear, "Oh, I used to sell on eBay. I was one of the originals, and now I don't sell because of it just got too much. And so we're always trying to figure out ways not to burn out, and one way would be how do you do the eBay without that grind? And here's the issue, and we've talked about this recently. I love the idea of going out and finding items that sell for $500 or $1,000. Why don't you just go out and spend $100 on an item and then you sell it for $1,000? Like, why not just do that? And the problem is because those items for us are difficult to find.
Well, look, even if you find those items, it's a crapshoot as to if they're going to sell, when they're going to sell. I mean, we have items that are worth over $500.
Right.
But
right. I mean, it seems like in America, the United States of America, that it's easy to find items that sell for $20 and $30.
Right.
$10, but up to $30. Like, those are everywhere.
They're
because
everywhere.
I guess it's low enough price and they're common enough items that people are willing just to basically give them away.
They're not going to do the work to get $30 for an item.
That's why it becomes a grind, because that's the way. Like this week, we'll talk about our numbers. We sold almost 50 items. But a lot of those items were between $20 and $30.
Yep.
Just bread and butter. And again, hey, we worked for ourselves. We paid all of our bills.
Right.
But we're this dream of being able to find places that have higher end stuff. And I'm thinking those are auctions and estate sales.
Yeah.
being willing to pay more its money, and then learning, like as you say, like, will this thing sell? Well, we would have to know enough research to know that it would sell.
This is going to sell soon.
Right.
You know?
So instead of selling, 200 items for $30, what if you sold, 5 items for, $800 or something?
Right.
But I don't know. I wonder, and I'm just putting this out there, I wonder if anyone out there who hears my voice, have you figured out that it's model?
Right. The step up model.
Right.
I mean, there are
step up.
You step up to.
Yeah.
You're like, look, you and I started at $9.99.
Right.
We were like $9.99.
Right.
You get whatever at that time, 0 insertion fee, whatever. It was like the cheapest thing you could do, and we worked our way up because we wanted a higher, average selling price, but.
Right.
Can you get it higher?
Right, and now, and not everything we sold this week was $30. I mean, we sold 4 things for over 100, 100-ish, 150. But yeah, I wonder if anyone has figured out that it's model. And I guess that just means, I don't think it means it's less work or less time.
Right.
I just think it's more time finding, more time scavenging.
Well, the equation changes.
Right.
It's less volume and quantity. Like, I'm finding great jeans, and I'm like, I'm getting them all. Of course, I have like an entire mountain that's as tall as me. But
up to her waist.
Yeah, it's like crazy. But, you shift that, and you're like, well, the same amount I took to like get all those and list them and whatever.
Right.
To get this one painting or whatever, piece of furniture. Yeah, it's...
Yeah, I mean, I don't
question.
know. Yeah, so that's the question we're asking people too. I would love to hear. And, the one reason why this is popping up with us is that, again, we're starting the renovation of our second rental house.
Right.
We don't talk about this much on this podcast. We have another podcast for that,
Shampoo and Booze,
if you want to go and check that out. But having this rental income has been evening out our money,
Yeah.
So it's less... It's pressure on us to have to sell on eBay.
Yeah.
So it could give us more breathing room where we could actually take more time to do this. So
yes,
we're just kind of talking out loud, and it's something, after we get back from all this work outside of our home, we'll see.
Yeah, just kind of like, I feel like once we get back from this trip, this like chunk of travel, we can kind of reevaluate how we're doing things, what we're doing.
And I mean, part of that too is just we have to break out of our its routine.
Right.
I like its routine that we have,
Sure.
but it means that we have to travel a little more outside of our little area, go into urban areas because that's really where all the money is.
That's where the money. Look, our nearest big city is Washington D.C. There's so much money there, so you gotta go out of your comfort zone, like you said.
Okay, let's talk about eBay real quick, our specific eBay experience this week. So last weekend was Labor Day, and I don't know about other people, but we had awesome Labor Day sales.
Oh my God, it was like all day.
It was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday too. We had awesome Labor Day sales.
It was. I was almost in shock. I was like, "What's going on?"
I mean, it felt good because that's again, it has been a quiet time so far the past 3 months, so it was nice. It felt like, okay, it's not like our stores turned off,
right?
Like the conspiracy theory we all think. It's just, it felt good, and again, it reminded me, this is, for us, it seems like this is when a varied and large inventory helps.
I mean, the stuff we sold is so random. Like, you'll sell a jacket and then you'll sell like this weird piece of artwork, and you're like, that's amazing.
And then like a spoon and a book and a pair of gloves and
exactly.
Like, that's what it's all about, is having all that inventory, all those search terms. Basically, inventory just means search terms. We have all these search terms out on the internet, and when people are ready to buy, it's there for them.
Yep.
And people were willing to pay some good money for stuff. So it was good.
Really good.
Another thing we talked about is last week was our auction experiment.
Yes.
So
we recently recorded a conversation with John, who sells postcards, and I swear we're going to post it.
I mean, it's going to be posted when we're over in Ireland, actually. But he sells, hundreds of postcards, and he told us, well, with your store subscription, you get free auctions every month.
Depending on your store level. How many
and
auctions
he just says, well, I'm just going to take advantage of it, so I do auctions every month. You know, almost everything's buy it now, but things that he wants just to get rid of, he'll put them into auction. So we're like, well,
let's try it.
Let's try it. So we put, 60 things
30. It was 30? Actually 30.
And none of them sold.
No. Look, I was like strategic. I was like, I'll end it on Friday night. I'll make prices lower.
Well, to be fair,
they weren't that low.
These were mainly larger, bulky items that we've had for a while.
Yeah.
We priced it at the lowest that it would be worth to ship.
Right. So, for me to, like, I'm not going to price everything at $9.
So it's not like we were posting things for like 99 cents and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, we were posting things for like $20, $30.
The lowest was 20. Yeah.
So, you know, these were like prices we would want them to sell for.
Right.
And, you know, and it was an experiment and nothing sold.
I was thinking, I was like, oh, you know, we're about to leave on our trip and we have to get this stuff out of the shed, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. Nothing sold. It's fine.
So,
I mean, look, the thing about John is he has thousands, so I don't know how many things he puts on auction in order to get a few things selling.
You'll have to listen to the interview.
Yeah.
But I think I think he puts up like 500.
Yeah, So that's. I mean, I put 30 things because I had to do it manually.
Plus, he started the price at like $5.99.
Yeah.
You know, again, to me, it's all auctions are all about low price. You know, started at cheap,
right?
And someone may get the thing for cheap,
right?
But you know, maybe there might be, you know,
a bidding war.
We just don't experience that, but you know, that's the thing. Auctions for us, again, our experiments are showing that it's just not a.
Anytime I do auctions, I'm like, oh yeah.
I don't know. Other people's mileage may vary. The auctions are there for free, so maybe we'll keep trying to do it, and maybe we'll start with lower prices. But it really seems like, to me, a method of basically just getting rid of stuff. It's like a fire sale.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? My problem is I don't want to fire sale anything, so that's my issue.
Right. I mean, we don't have a problem with storage, so why not just hold on to it till someone buys it?
I mean, the last couple of days, I sold things that were, like, super old and, like, you know, low price, and I'm like, I never thought that would sell. Like
one item, and we'll talk about it, was 4 years old.
It was 4 years old.
Okay, its next topic here is cheaper GSP shipping.
Yeah. So I've had a couple, it's like 3 people in the last week on international be like, I really want this sent first class shipping, right? And they were high sales, like over $100.
And we were hungry.
Yeah, and I'm hungry for a $100 sale, right? So I'm like, all right. The problem is they already this is the issue too. They already put the offer in, I already accepted, and then they want to change the shipping. And so I'm like, look, I'm going to make you your own listing. We'll cancel the other one, blah, 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 blah. So I make the other listing with first class to like France. And then I compare the shipping prices, and I'm like, it's actually cheaper for them, like several dollars cheaper to just buy global shipping program. Like, for some reason, that's cheaper than first class.
Now, have you ever noticed that before?
No, but the thing is, usually we're just like, no, just do it global shipping.
Now, how could you tell that it was cheaper? Like, where does it tell you that?
I just calculate it on the shipping. You say, I'm in France, and you, like, you know, do the calculation. So, for several of those people, all those people, I said, look, it's actually cheaper by this amount.
You know, and I feel, too, that global shipping program has gotten a really bad its reputation among buyers and sellers. Like, everyone just assumes, like, oh, it's so much more
They're overcharging.
Money. You know, the way eBay could solve that is to just give a comparison. You know?
That's true.
Like, this item is in the global shipping program. It's going to cost you X amount of dollars, but that includes all tariffs and duty fees.
And tracking and insurance.
And its priority. And if you did it first class international,
it would be X amount.
It would be X amount, plus you'll have to pay the duties and fees.
Right, and that's something I was telling people, like, it was...
And just give people a number, you know?
Right, that was my problem was, I was having to be like, look, first class international, not guaranteed tracking, does not include insurance, you know, could take up to a month, but then there's this, which is cheaper, and you're getting all this. So then those people were like, oh, okay, and they just paid. Yeah. Thank God. But, you know, it's like, why doesn't eBay just explain that? you know, or have a link. Just have a pop-up link or something that's like, here's the comparison. Yeah. But anyway, I love global shipping. I've loved it since the beginning. I prefer it.
Right. And I know people that buy, like people in Canada, they're like, well, why does it need to ship to Kentucky? Because I'm paying that price. And then it ships to me. So it does cost more money.
For Canada.
And I get it.
Yeah.
We actually took off on one of our stores. GSP.
Global shipping for Canada.
Has anyone ever bought?
No, nobody. I've never had that. So it's like, no, it's not like my Canadian buyers are like, yay, I'm going to.
That's
interesting. It's just, I'm like,
what a conspiracy.
Don't say that.
So, and then the last thing, we talked about this before, but we just want to reiterate, because it's a really cool little, I don't know if it's a loophole or just a rule that people aren't aware of.
Yeah, so here's the deal. Somebody messages you, they open a case. I don't like this, I'm returning it. And the case is approved, you have automatic approval, or you approve it, whatever. There's 2 ways to do it.
And this is hassle-free returns.
Hassle-free returns, if you have hassle-free returns on, right? The buyer has 5 business days to mail the item back. They have more than that, but you have 5 business days till, in quotes, eBay steps in. So I had someone being like, I'm going to mail this back, whatever. I'm like, fine, great. After 5 business days, she hadn't uploaded any tracking. There was no evidence that she had shipped it. So I called eBay on that 5th day, and I was like, please close this return. They close it right away. You have no obligation to give anyone their money back.
So if you don't do anything, the buyer has much more time.
Yeah, like 30, 45 days, something.
But if you keep an eye on it and you take action, then you can close the case.
Yep.
So now, what happens if the buyer says, I want to return this, and you say, okay, approve it. She or he prints the label, but then the tracking isn't uploaded? Well,
the tracking's uploaded only when they give it to the post office.
So what happens if they print the label, but there's no, nothing's uploaded after that? Like, does her printing the label stop that 5-day window?
Nope, because that's what happened. That when I called about that return, I was like, I'm pretty sure she printed the label, because they send you an email. This person has shipped it, in quotes, shipped it. And they're like, yeah, it shows that she printed the label, but it doesn't show that she actually got it to the post office.
So within 5 days, tracking needs to be uploaded.
Tracking.
Okay.
It's all about tracking.
Okay. So, so it doesn't matter if they print the label, tracking has to be uploaded, and that means carriers picked up the package.
It's been scanned.
Okay, 5 business days.
5 business days.
Okay.
Now that is, if it's been scanned, forget the 5 business days, because it's going to get to you.
Right.
And you'll have to give them their money back. But like this person, they printed the label, they did nothing for 7 days.
Right.
I called eBay, they're like, yep, you can close it, so I closed it.
Well, that's cool.
It's really helpful, because you're just like, if people are opening bad returns, like, it's your fault, it's not as described, and you're like, that's buyer's remorse. Well, they didn't ship it back. So.
I mean, let's dial it back some. Basically, they're rules.
They're rules.
We're very open to taking returns.
We'll take any return.
We have good customer service.
Yep.
People can return anything within 30 days for any reason at all. But there are rules on their end that they have to keep up with. And so if they want to return it, but they just choose not to after 5 business days, that means a whole week.
Yeah.
It just means that they probably changed their mind, and we can just clear it off of our thing.
Yep,
so
and we do.
That's a little more of the professional way to say it.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you're professional, because I tend to go the other end.
Okay, Amazon FBA. So we had some good news this week. We got a reimbursement for $220 from Amazon.
Yes.
Because
look, this was a piece of hardware. It was a plumbing hardware. Very high-end piece of hardware.
Brand new.
Brand new. So the item was returned to us. I got it returned from the shipping center, from the FBA center. But there were pieces missing.
Right. I mean, and just real quick, what happens is we get a message from Amazon. They're like, buyer is returning this. They pull out the money immediately,
right.
And it's $220.
Yeah.
And so we don't see the money. It's gone from our account. And then we wait. Right. And then finally, I guess it hits the warehouse, and then we have to say, okay, send it back to us.
Right.
So it's like all this time, over a month, for us to actually get the box. And we open the box, and what happens?
There are 2 pieces missing. Like, I can see there are 2 very important pieces missing.
Right, it's a tub spout, so it's got all these little nuts and bolts.
That's not what it is,
what
but
is it?
it's supply lines for a sink. Very
same thing.
So, but the problem is there's
Right.
like this like compression nut thing,
Right.
and an inside piece that's very specialized. And if those are gone, you cannot install it.
And I just assumed, forget it. It's like we just lost that money. Like, let's just get rid of it. And then what does Ryan do?
I opened a case on Amazon. I was like, the person returned this. It's not, because we checked it. I made sure that those pieces were there when we sent it out.
Right.
So they opened a case. It took 2 weeks or whatever, and they refunded us the price, $200, because this is.
And to me, it was interesting because they no longer had the item, so they couldn't like check the box to see if we were saying it right because they had already sent it back.
I
to
sent
us.
photos, but
Okay.
but it's really easy to you could cheat that, but I didn't.
And then I wonder, like, are they just doing it as a courtesy? Like, well, let's just be nice, and we'll eat this just so we have good relationship. Or did they like take the money back from the buyer?
I don't know. They weren't clear. And what's odd is I generally don't think of Amazon as doing any sellers that much of a courtesy,
Right.
like a $200 courtesy.
So, we were very pleased, and I guess that just means that we just need to, because it does take time.
Time, yeah.
Just like with calling eBay about
Yeah.
things, you just have to work it. And my question is, didn't we sign up for some kind of like independent service that was supposed to do that for us?
Yeah, it's weird. It's like someone sent us a link to this like Amazon return service where they'll open a case for things like this.
Right.
But I think the issue with this return was that service wouldn't have known that we had pieces missing. Like they just knew that someone returned it.
Right.
So I don't really understand how those services
It's just a
work.
private service where like if you don't pay them until they get
Till you
money,
get a refund,
and then
yeah.
they take a piece of that. I don't know. We signed up for it, and then I don't think any of these things ever happened. So
I don't know how that works.
And then with its return, we were talking about this on our blog and it confuses me. And that's with the Amazon its returns. I find Amazon does a very poor job letting the status of its return. Unlike eBay, the way it works is, if you get that email, this buyer is returning this. We just took all the money from you. And then you just wait. So they get the money, or the money's taken from us before it's even shipped.
Right.
And then it's hard to tell why it's getting returned.
Yep.
What the status is. Is it, there's no tracking number to see where it is, when it hits the warehouse, and then when you get it sent back to you. And my question is, so if someone opens up, wants to return it, Amazon takes all its money from you, what happens if the person never ships it? Like,
right.
does Amazon keep track of that and then give us our money back?
Yeah, it's weird because the first few times I called about that, I was like, what if it never gets returned? They're like, well, after 45 days, we'll give you your money back. That's what I remember them saying. And I'm like, do I have to call to get that, or is it automatic? Like, do they send me a message?
And
I don't know.
And I have a hard time finding a link. I don't know if you have found it that shows you all its returns.
Yeah, it's in fulfillment reports.
Okay.
And then you go to returns.
So is it one of those things where you have to like make its report and it like
No,
spits a
it'll show
report
it
out?
to you.
Okay.
It'll show it to you.
And then does it show you? You can click on it and it shows you the item, and does it show you the like it's on its way?
No, it doesn't do that at all.
Does it say it's why it's returned? Like it's your fault?
Only once it hits the warehouse does it tell you why it got returned.
See, I think that's
which is
weird.
odd, right?
See, like when someone opens up its return on Amazon, you would think that the reason would be obvious.
Well, it would be automatic because you tell them the reason, right?
So
then.
why don't they tell you that right away?
Well, that's why like eBayers like us, we're like, when someone wants to return something, you're like, right away why.
Yeah, I think that's why. It's just because I'm more comfortable with it.
Okay, so here's the thing. So I just opened its reports, fulfillment, and then over on the left, returns. So someone returned actually, it's a textbook, and it says disposition damaged, reason product damage or defect prior to shipping, unit returned to inventory, which is something you could probably claim because you're like, I sent a hardcover book that was not damaged. Like, someone's claiming, oh, it got damaged. I want my money back. Probably because they didn't like the book. So you could probably open a case for that. Like, what's the damage? You know,
Right.
have it investigated.
So, two things. I wonder if on eBay, which I love about it, you can call eBay anytime,
Yep.
and you can fight with anything. Fight anything, and it doesn't feel like they hold it against you.
Yeah.
Like it's just
Right.
everything's case by case. There isn't like, oh, this person's arguing too much.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't mean like it's a fight, like we're being mean, but just we're calling. I wonder if on Amazon, is it the same way? Like
Right.
you can argue any case, and they don't eventually say like this seller isn't worth it. Like they're too much of a problem, and you're out.
I don't know. I
Because-
just don't understand.
Well, anyway, maybe it's just because we've had it for longer, but the eBay their case
Right.
its system makes more sense to me. Like everything is
Yeah.
people open a case and you can
It's very
look at it.
very transparent.
Right.
It's very transparent. And that's why the thing about Amazon, like right now, okay, so I'm looking at this book and it's like unit return to inventory. And you're like, they returned a damaged item to my inventory to resell to someone and now it's inactive. So like, do I have to send it back to myself?
Right. It doesn't give you an action, does it? Or
Well, I
does
think
it?
I can say like, let's see, what does it say? Inactive. So I think I don't even know.
like is it in our inventory or is it not?
Right.
And why isn't it in our inventory? And
I have to like
Yeah.
send them a message and be like, what's going
it
on?
just feels like there's so many loose ends, whereas eBay's pretty good about like something needs to happen here. It's like there's a case open and something needs to you need to take action.
Okay, so this is my question for other FBAers. I feel like I've heard this before. Can you, if you have stuff in FBA, can you have returns sent back to you directly instead of back to the FBA warehouse? Because I feel like that's a better idea. To be like, any return gets sent back to my house rather than back to the FBA warehouse. Because then I'm like, actually, okay, this pre-calculus book,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with it. I'm going to open a case that said that
Right.
they returned it falsely,
But yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
I think people who do FBA like hardcore might be hearing this, and they're just like, you guys are just like, it's all about
Small.
volume. You have to expect 3% or something.
Yeah.
It's just you just got to eat it. Just get rid of it. Just say like destroy, and then it goes into.
But it's hard when it's like a $200 dollar piece of
Yeah.
hardware, like we were saying.
just I don't know. So the last thing on Amazon we wanted to mention is pricing.
Yeah.
So we've been finding and selling, or we've been finding a lot of books and sending them into Amazon. And so our thing is where we scan it.
Yeah.
And we've been finding these like books that have no sales history, but they'll have like a $5.99 price on them, like
$599.
yeah, $599. It looks like a rare, weird, book,
1970s book. Yeah.
but it doesn't have a price history. It has no its ranking.
Like it has no ranking. It has like two people merchant fulfilled that have it up for $499, and you're like, what is some? This is our theory. Somebody was like, this is the only version of this book, whatever, a year ago.
I might as well try it.
I might as well put the highest price possible. And then two other people are like, well, I'll put it up at that price, like $1 less, And so then I'm like, well, I'm the only one on FBA, so I'm actually going to put it higher than that.
And these will be books with like very a little, like it's got one picture and it's a bad picture,
Or it doesn't
one
even
image.
have a picture.
Now, when you add an image to it, does that image then share with everybody?
I think so. I think that's what's supposed to happen, but I'm not sure exactly. I'd have to look at that listing.
Yeah.
So it's like, so for me, I'm like, am I a sucker if I price this at like $50 rather than $600?
Yeah,
like
how are people is pricing stuff
Right.
like that?
I mean, the great thing about Amazon,
Camel.
the great thing about Amazon is you can change the price at any time.
Yeah.
Like if we're like, this is crazy, let's just put it on $50.
Because now the way it works in our home is that Ryan's the one that actually makes these packages,
Yeah.
the boxes, and so you're the one that it prices and stuff. Do you use other services like Camel?
I haven't used it's Camel.
No. Excuse me.
I use
Camel's a bad site.
I use it's called Keepa. It's a plugin for Amazon. It helps you shows you sales rank, and when the sales rank changes, you know it sells. But their items like this one, it's completely blank. There's no sales history.
I mean, I wonder if that means that no one has ever
bought
this book.
But that's not to say
we're crazy to even mail it in.
Well, look, the sales history only goes back a year, I think.
Okay.
So maybe last year someone put one up. I don't know.
It's all an experiment. We've been selling some really weird books for high,
For high,
it's not $600, but for $100.
$100 we'll sell a book.
So we're willing to experiment. I noticed that this week we got charged $22 for storage in the FBA warehouse. So that's interesting when people talk about storage costs. So we have about 800 items in the FBA at warehouse, and it's costing us $22 a month to store things there. Now, 99% of these items are single items, so as far as I understand, we'll never get charged a long-term storage fee.
Right.
So as long as we're willing to pay $22 a month, they'll just keep those in there until that stuff sells.
Right.
Then we pay $40 for a store, right?
Professional seller fee.
And then there's all the fees that they take on each sale. But really, $60-ish a month, and we have an FBA store.
Yeah,
it's actually a pretty good.
We don't touch that stuff. We don't have to ship it or anything.
Right.
So it's not bad.
And it was interesting. There's a guy in the comments, Lee, in Tennessee.
Yep.
He's a really good guy, and he's been sharing an experiment he's been doing for a while now.
Yeah.
I think he's been doing it for 6 months or longer. Where I guess he's got these certain electronic items.
Yeah.
That he's willing to try and find on eBay, and he'll snipe. Or well, he doesn't snipe them, but he just puts his maximum bid.
Yeah.
And will buy them for $40, and then he can sell them on Amazon. It's new in the box for over $200.
Wow.
So it's kind of seems good, and he's been sharing his numbers, and he's doing very well. He started with $200, and now he's, a couple thousand or something.
It's incredible.
This is why I brought that up. Most of the items we sell on Amazon are like $20. And the Amazon fees are huge because of shipping.
Yeah.
When he's selling a piece of a computer thing for $200 or $300, his Amazon fees are actually really small.
Yeah.
So it seems like it makes sense for Amazon to find those things itself for a lot more.
For higher, yeah.
Because often our Amazon fees can be half of the price, but
and his are like 18%.
Yeah, he sells it for like $25. I mean, sorry, it's $50, and his fees and shipping and handling and all that might only be $25.
Yeah, which is really nice. So it's like half the fees.
Interesting.
Okay, let's move on.
Yep, let's talk about our numbers.
Yep.
Okay, so this week we had a pretty good week. Okay, so this week between our two eBay stores, we made a little over $2,000.
Good, thank God.
It's like I said, we sold 42 things in our main store, and then we sold 12 things in our second store. So a lot of it's volume.
Right. So average selling price on the first store was $37, which is that sounds right.
And on a second store, it's $40. So
Well, we had a high end, we had a $200 sink that sold, so that was a really nice, boost to the second store.
Amazon this week, we sold about $200 worth of stuff, $210 and then our net profit after all the fees and the cost of goods sold, it was about $100. So.
Yeah.
Okay, quickly, things we sold.
Okay, so we sold a sink, new in the box sink for $200. It was a porcelain sink,
like a Kohler
porcelain sink. It wasn't hard to ship, but I really had to pack it really well because I've had those break before. Basically, I double boxed it inside its box, so I just really padded it out as much as possible, like crazy.
Right, and it was an experiment we did a while ago where we bought a bunch of these sinks that were new in the box, but the boxes had been opened and the boxes were all kind of damaged.
Yeah.
From a plumbing supply place that was just kind of getting it's rid of them. So
the good thing about these sinks was that they are in the original boxes, so you can, like work with that as a shipping material. Now, this box in particular was quite large. What I wanted to do was pad it out and then throw that box in another box, but it was huge. So I was just like, I'm just going to pad it out, wrap it in cardboard, and then keep it in its original box and kind of work with that. So I did. I did it FedEx ground to California, and it's on its way.
And so on the flip side, we also sold like a pound of square cut nails.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I bring this up is it's just a different way of scavenging and to sell, is that we went to an auction 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And we bought 2 big boxes of square cut nails.
They were 50 pounds. Were they 50 pounds each? Yeah.
Yep.
50 pounds each.
And we bought them for $5, like both. It's boxes.
Both boxes.
It's an auction. People are like, why do I want these nails? They're square cut, so they're like kind of the funky, vintage.
They look vintage, yeah.
And we've been selling them off in 1 pound increments for $10 a pound.
Yeah.
And so we're almost at the end.
So we finished one box because there are 2 different sizes. That was the last of that box. Right. So if you do the math, that's $1,000 worth of nails for $5 over 4 years.
Over 4 years, right?
I mean, that's, minus fees.
Just a different way to, and I don't think we could have sold them obviously that much if we tried to sell just the whole lot. Someone would just say, "I'll give you $100."
I knew that people use them for finishing old furniture and stuff, or wanting to match it with, their floorboards have these nails, and so I was like, you know what? This is pretty much the only place you can buy them on eBay. Yep. So it's been successful.
So last year when we went to Amsterdam, we talked about, we go to this one flea market, we fill up a whole duffel bag full of stuff and bring it home. And one thing we were buying were these carpet bags.
Yeah, so they're basically squares of carpet that are made into either a pillowcase or a purse. So I think we bought it for, $3 or something.
They seem very common because I guess it's a Turkish thing or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. And so we were buying them for $3 each.
We just buy them anytime we see them.
And we just sold one for $100.
$100,
so
yeah. So nice. That's a really nice turnaround. So here's something that sold. We bought a new pair of Vans skater shoes from the 80s, never used, for $125. They have not paid.
We sold them for $125.
We sold them for $100.
Right.
This person has not paid.
Right. But the person did message us and say, "I will pay." So
hopefully
I'm optimistic about it. And we bought these actually last year when we were in it's Manhattan at Housing Works.
I think we bought them for $5 or something.
Yep. They were just
crazy.
Sitting right there.
And they're brand new, never used, made in the USA. What?
And Flim, it's Faith, who we've interviewed, who lives in it's Manhattan. She shops at places it's like this, and man, if you're in a place like that, you can find these kind of cool items,
Yeah, you can find high-end stuff. This stuff is more expensive, but the money you make on it is exponentially.
She's been posting her numbers, and she's making good money.
Yeah, well, what's great is she's full-time now, so she's just cranking along.
We sold a piece of it's watercolor art.
Yeah, so we bought this piece of art at an online auction, actually, for nothing. Not a famous artist, but a cool piece, real funky. It was dated 1969, which is awesome.
And it did have a name on it, but the name didn't bring anything up.
Yeah, it's not a named artist, but...
just cool.
I had it up for $159. She offered $130. And this is another example of the GSP thing, where she was first of all, she asked me to take it out of the frame, which I'm not going to do ever since my take it out of the frame incident with another piece of art.
And then she was unhappy when she got it because it was framed wrong or framed poorly. So when you take it out of the frame,
it looks bad. Yeah. So it was funny because she was basically item not as described. I'm but you asked me to change it. So I was whatever, I'm not going to take it out of the frame. And she wanted first class shipping to the UK, and I was nope. So she paid for it, and I sent it, to GSP.
But it's a good example where, art does sell if it looks good. If it's just interesting
it's
art.
Cool art.
Even if it doesn't have a named artist or anything like that.
It's just a cool piece. We buy art like that.
Right.
I don't care if it's named. Right. I just like the piece.
We sold a pair of its leather boots for $100.
I don't remember that.
They were like from Tibet, I guess.
Oh yeah, so these leather boots, I'm pretty sure they were made in Tibet.
They're like it's Sherpa boots.
Yeah,
almost,
like these crazy, like, they're really beautiful. And this was another person on GSP who gave us an offer. We accepted. She's in France. She said, please ship these first class international. I'm like, I can't. It's already through
eBay
this.
does not make it easy to like change
it.
Yeah.
So eventually, again, I did the thing where I'm like, it's actually cheaper to send it. And she's like, okay. And so she paid.
And then the last thing we'll talk about is something that Orion has mentioned probably about 10 times this week. Google sticker.
Oh, I mentioned it to you. Yeah. Yeah, so we visited Google. We had a friend that worked at Google, and we were doing some work over there. And we visited, and they, like, gave us stickers and stuff. And
a long time ago, back
like
in like 2006, and we just found this sticker that they gave us, like, in the bottom of a junk drawer.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? That's cool because, like, it was a really particular one. Like, it wasn't just the logo. It was, like, this, like, seascape thing. And I was like, you know what? I bet someone will want that because it is, 10 years old. And it sold for $12 to someone in California.
A little tiny
in
sticker.
Silicon Valley.
Yep. So funny.
Yeah.
Okay, customer issues. This isn't really a problem, but it's just interesting.
Yeah.
A woman bought an item from us, I don't know, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was about a month ago.
And she didn't pay.
So she gave us an offer on a high-end piece. We took a very low offer, $150 on something I had up for $300. She didn't pay. She had zero feedback. I messaged her, blah, blah, blah. So ended the case, closed the unpaid item case, blocked her. And then she opened a new account. You could tell because it was almost the same name, zero feedback.
And from the same
shipping information and whatever, And so she gave us a lower offer than before. So I countered at a high offer. It was like I countered at $275. And I knew it was her, so I was like, if you wanted it cheaper, you should have paid the first time. I couldn't help it.
And then we never heard from her.
Of course I know. It expired. But still, you're like, come on. Like,
yeah.
I know it's you. It's the same item.
Yeah, I mean, people on the, will come on and be like, I never sell to someone with it's zero feedback. We always sell people, we always sell things to people with no feedback. I mean, people have to start somewhere, but this is an example of someone with no feedback not having its respect for its process, and then learning that if they don't, play nice, that people are going to start noticing. Well,
and start the beauty is you can block buyers. Yeah. So someone with zero feedback that gave me an okay offer, I accepted. They didn't pay. I'm going to block you.
That's interesting. On Amazon, do they give us that power? Like, can you block a buyer who's returning things that seems to be not like for abusive? A good
I don't know. I'm sure that Amazon sellers know that if they can or not.
Okay, things we learned in the comments. So we talked about Faith, or Flim, as her name is in the blog. So it's Manhattan. She's doing very well. After getting it laid off, she says, do I need to get another job or to start to scavenge full time?
Yep.
Take my part time. And she's been doing it full time. She seems to be doing very well. She's in an interesting link that I will put on the blog where it's an interesting story. This guy had an idea to build a product, so he designed this product, had it made over in China, so now he's got this product and it's branded, and he's selling it on Amazon.
Right.
And then he starts realizing that people are just copying his photos and everything and putting on eBay for a little bit higher. So then people will buy it over on eBay, then they'll just buy it on Amazon from him for a little bit cheaper and then ship it from the Amazon, its warehouse.
To the person, yeah.
The problem is that if that person who bought it off of eBay is unhappy,
right,
they send it back to the person
on eBay,
right, who bought it from Amazon, and then they'll send it back to him and get their money back, and then he has a product that he can no longer sell. So the person in the middle, who's called a drop shipper, they're the one who is making, not a big profit, but they're making its profit, and then the guy who originally sells it on Amazon is taking all the its risk and it losing its money on inventory. So it's such an interesting thing, and basically the article is like, that's just the way it is.
That's
like,
just, dude, this is what I always say. That's capitalism.
And the interesting thing is the guy who, made this product and sells on Amazon says that what he would do sometimes is screw it with them, where he would like just suddenly raise the price by $20 or something. So if someone sells it on eBay,
they're gonna lose money,
and then they try and go and buy it. They're like, "Wait a second, the price has changed."
I'm losing $20.
And he said he would get like emails from people like, "Please sell it to me at the original price." But other than that,
Well, that's fascinating actually, because we've heard all this stuff where people are like, "I'm not going to do FBA anymore. I'm just going to do private label," and that's the thing about private label.
Well,
right?
I mean, that's the other thing. So that's not anyone competing against him. That's just people kind of like playing the rules in their favor. But the other thing with private label, I've been listening to these videos online on YouTube. It's like Jungle Scout. So basically, it's a service that you can sign up for, where if you are finding items on Amazon that are private label, you can click a button and it shows you how much they sell. So basically, you can figure out, do I want to compete against this person?
Right.
And then they tell you how to go to, Alibaba and order these things and label it, and then you can suddenly start competing against this private label. So to me, I don't really know about this stuff. I just,
you're observing,
hearing about it. But it means that just because you have a private label, it seems to only give you a window where you're the only one there. But it seems like pretty quickly other people will catch on, see how much you are,
selling. I mean, the data's all there. They tell you how much you're selling, but the data's there of how much you're selling it for, and you just undercut them.
And it's like other people have said, if it's so easy to just like, buy these products and have them shipped to its warehouse, and it's just like click, 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 click. If it's easier for it's easy for everybody. So that's the thing. Anyway.
Right.
Interesting.
Well, it's like people are always trying to find a magic bullet, like a super quick, get rich quick thing. And none of that is, even private label. It's all work.
I feel like it's good for the people that first get into it. And then when everyone starts showing up,
it just gets,
Okay, and then the second thing I just wanted to talk about in its comments, B-Rock, which I love his name.
Yeah.
Or I'm assuming it's a him. It's mentioned for anyone that works for themselves. You can obviously put your money into an IRA.
Right.
And that helps you not pay taxes on that, or depending on what kind of IRA. Till you actually take it out when you're at 65. Or there is a thing called a self-employed, it's 401k plan.
Right.
That you can sign up for, and that's just another fund
that's interesting.
that you can put money into.
That's the first time I've heard that.
I'd heard about it, but I thought you had to have like a certain business entity, like an S corp, and where you're taking its money from the company as its salary. But he says anyone can do it as long as you're it's self-employed, and that just means I can put money in now; it doesn't get taxed, and then when I'm older,
it will
and
get
take
taxed.
its money out, it gets taxed. So.
Always getting taxed. Yeah.
So our coming week, yes, it's mentioned we're about to hop on a plane to San Francisco.
Yes.
A job we've done the past several years.
Yep.
We will be just doing a job.
That's what we'll be doing. I'll be answering questions on eBay.
We've put our store, we've done the handling 7 days.
Okay, here's the deal with handling time. This is how handling time works. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day, 10 day. So if you're over 5 days, you have to put it on 10 day. So
10 day, 20 day?
10 day, 20, 30. I think that might be it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it next week when we get closer to being a 5 day.
It's like on a Wednesday, change it to 5 day.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
So, and the reason why we do that is so our store is still open. People can still buy. When they, go to look at the product, it says this item will get shipped in
this many days.
10 business days.
Yeah.
Estimated time of arrival is October or whatever.
Yeah,
So It's all upfront. And then when someone buys, we also send them a message. We just want to remind you of our handling time because we're traveling. And then if people say, oh, I didn't see that, please give us our cash back. We definitely do that. So
right. And you know what? Last time we traveled, not one single person did that. But mostly we find it's 1 out of 10 people.
Yeah, right.
If that.
Yep. And then, we'll talk about it later. And then we come back from San Francisco and we're home for basically 5 days. And then we fly to Ireland for 3 weeks. So this is going to be a busy time for us.
Yeah.
And that is when we'll be posting some conversations we've been recording with people.
We've been recording good conversations, interviews. So.
Yep.
All right, we are going to listen to some voicemails of people who called in. You can always call our voicemail line. You have 3 minutes to leave a message, and the phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. This is Eli from Portland. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Always wanted to say that. And I just noticed that you can purchase a second, third, fourth label for through eBay shipping, and I was wondering if anybody has actually tried that. I don't have any current items up that can take advantage of it, but I think that's a game changer. If I can send a lamp shade in its own box and a lamp body in another box, that's huge. So I just want to hear what you guys have to think about it, and thanks for everything you do, and keep up the good work. Bye.
Okay, yes. I think it's up to 5 because I've shipped big boxes of books to people and it limited me to 5. And the thing is, the problem is this. It's awesome that you can do that, for the reasons you stated, but being able to charge someone accurately for several labels is difficult. So I don't know how to do that. Other than doing a flat rate or just saying it weighs this much, it's going to be this much, as if it were one big box, and then hope that it makes sense with your several labels. But yes, eBay will warn you on your second label. It'll be like, you've already printed a label for this transaction, but you can still do it. I'm pretty sure the limit is either 4 or 5 labels.
Hey, Jay and Ryan. I thought I'd call in and weigh in on the ongoing debate you do have on how to pronounce Hermes. I was watching the Apple keynote here this last week, and they had some tie-in with that company, and the person pronounced it Hermes. So I guess I'm going to say that's how you pronounce it. You guys go ahead and pronounce it however you like, but I thought I'd just pass that along. Have a good day.
Yes, you are correct. It is pronounced Hermes. As a American English speaker, that's not how you would think to pronounce it when you read it.
But it's a French word, so
it's a French word. Right. So a lot of people call it Hermes.
Right. It's like it's movie. People are like, let's go and watch the cartoon movie Hermes.
Right, but it's not. It's Hermes. But you know what? Like you said, pronounce it however you want. Yeah. If you found an Hermes handbag or a silk scarf, you pronounce it however you want.
As long as you can spell it, because spelling is just another search word for the internet, and that's all that matters.
Okay, that's it for the podcast today. You can check out the blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation. You can call and leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. The phone number again is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video, so you can see what sells on eBay and how much it's sold for. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube, so you always get the latest episode. You can listen to our other podcast where we talk about our Airbnb rental business, and that's at shampooandbooze.com. Till next time, this podcast is ending in 3, 2, 1.
Bye.